Everybody, welcome to a short version of Another Fine Mess. I'm Roger Gray. If you saw 60 Minutes last week, despite the MAGA leanings of the new owners, Scott Pelley interviewed a former member of Congress, a Republican, who's dying. Ben Sasse is that former member of Congress. He's a senator from Nebraska from 2015 to 2023. He resigned, became the president of a college in Florida, and is now dying of cancer. He's only 54 years old, and sadly, like many others, he can only tell the truth about the U.S. Congress after resigning, deciding not to run again, or, in this case, being near death. Now, I'll get into what he said in a minute, but I am dismayed at the last sentence I wrote, which has been not jocularly described as which has been now pretty jocularly described as the world's greatest deliberative body. And it's now a partisan, gridlock, really bad Broadway show. I read today a Facebook post by Senator John Kennedy, that guy, the misnamed senator from Louisiana, who more resembles, Jubilation T. Cornpone from Lil Abner. Anyway, he was ruminating on how sad the world would be without Donald Trump. He couldn't imagine a world without Donald Trump. Kennedy is one of those who goes back and forth on Trump like the malleable political comic Bill Maher, depending on the direction of the current political zeitgeist. It's a wet finger in the wind for a better America. And it's those kinds of profiles and courage that have put us where we are now. And while, as a cancer survivor myself, I can certainly sympathize with Sasse's criticisms of the current crowd under the dome. I do have to ask, why only now, Ben? I mean, to his credit, Sasse voted to impeach Trump after the January 6th riot and called the president a broken man after the event. But he voted to acquit in the first one after that Ukraine extortion call. And he voted for the border wall. Before January 6th, he was pretty standard issue MAGA, quite frankly. And now, only in the valley of the shadow of death, can he unburden himself. That 60 Minutes interview was, of course, very sympathetic, with scenes of family and bucolic life in Plainview, Nebraska. But it's easy to forget that though he was the son of a high school teacher and football coach, Sasse also studied at Harvard University, St. John's College, and Yale. He taught at the University of Texas, served as an assistant secretary in the HHS department under George W. In 2010, he was named the 15th president of Midland University in Fremont, Nebraska. So he had his eyes on the prize early on, and that is certainly admirable for a kid from rural Nebraska. And he made it eventually. A young, attractive senator with no doubt a presidential run in the future. So, yes, at some point he apparently began to see it all as a partisan theater. It did nothing to advance the country, the economy, or this American experiment. But again, to be brutally honest, at the University of Florida, after he left Congress, he expanded the budget of his office, hired friends, old colleagues, spent way too much on entertainment and travel. And, well, okay, all right, you can take the boy out of Plainview, but you can't take Plainview out of the boy. But now he faces a devastating fate, and he's opening up. I mean, okay, better late than never, I suppose, but I wish it had been sooner. When there was more on the line. Either way, though, he has revealed a dirty little not so secret that it's all a show, a performance. So now we have a sort of shadow presidency, as the British might call it. Their sole function is to oppose, no matter how logical the proposal is. It is indeed now party over principle. And like on the internet, owning the libs or owning MAGA is now the whole and only goal. And lest I come off too partisan, okay, I understand. Nancy Pelosi did the same thing too. And it's become toxic and absolutist. And Though I wish he'd spoken out sooner, I'm glad Ben Sasse is finally unburdening himself. Look, the national debt has now reached the size of the whole economy. I mean, if you owed everything you earned, you'd set your hair on fire. But each side has to keep giving its followers the stuff they want, and that stuff is breaking us in either spending or cutting income because some tech bro wants another tax cut. This whole democracy thing only works if reasonable people agree on reasonable things. I mean, this isn't a war where you need the unconditional surrender of the other guys, even if that's how the president described it in a tweet this weekend. Now, when President Trump decided he would come in and undo everything that had Barack Obama's name on it, why did no Republicans say, hey, you know, a treaty with Iran might not be a bad idea? And when President Biden decided to reverse the remain in Mexico policy on immigration, why did no Democrats say, hey, you know, that might not be a bad idea? It's because they can't. I mean, if you're off the reservation on any issue, you're a rhino, or I guess a dino, I suppose. And I mean any issue, any one issue. So do please watch 60 Minutes, that episode with Sasse. It's probably streaming right now. And think about what he's saying. In the end, it really doesn't matter why he finally says it, but simply that he does. And listen now, you know, before the gang at Run CBS removes anything like this. I mean, after all, soon they're going to be running all these stories past the ultimate news director. You know, one on Pennsylvania Avenue. That's another fine mess. I'm Roger Gray. We'll see you next time.